So Myron Gaines, a fresh and fit, recently dropped a video about why MAGA is upset with Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy. I definitely wanted to do a deep dive into what he was saying. I think because he's an ex Department of Homeland Security agent, um, he has more in-depth knowledge than a lot of the other commentators who are kind of talking about this. And so I agree with most of it. So we're gonna definitely talk about it. Let's go ahead and play this video.
Right? Let's talk about the visas. Let's be very blunt here. The H1B visa is nothing more than a visa that allows big tech companies and other companies to get around hiring American citizens that are qualified and paying them more. I fucking said it. It's a fucking go around for these companies to increase their profit margins, get cheaper labor, and a lot of the times these foreign nationals that they import in aren't even better than the fucking Americans that are here. All right? It's a dirty little secret that no one wants to hear, but that's the reality. When Vivek and Elon and all these guys say, oh yeah, we need to bring in talented workers, it's bullshit. Half the time when they bring these guys in, they can't even fucking code. They're not necessarily better than the people that we have here. It's just that they're willing to take less. And that's the truth. So now, you guys can see why a lot of these big tech guys are trying to get into the White House and kind of increase their own bottom line. And one thing I like about being on the right is that they're willing to call out this bullshit, right? Because we know historically Trump has been pretty hard on immigration. But these people are coming in and trying to soften things up.
So, as someone that's definitely independent, um, on very on a personal level, pretty conservative. On a social level, I am either a libertarian, and on economics, I'm very much. I do lean a little bit more left populist on certain economic things, but considering that, I dabble in a lot of left wing, far left, middle, right, far right, spaces, just to kind of get a different perspective of what everybody's talking about. That way, I can make a more conscientious decision on what ideology or what I agree with, and even sometimes it may negate some previous truths that I might have accepted. But neither here nor there. The right definitely does welcome infighting. It definitely allows for debate. It definitely allows for disagreements, and it allows for the a lot of times may the best ideology or the best thoughts win. As somebody who is around a lot of people on the left, that listens to a lot of people on the left doesn't have that same kind of tolerance. A lot of times they're very intolerant. I've kind of come to understand it as it's like a race to the bottom to see who's more hyper liberal. And if you can't keep up with the new woke thing, um, then you're banished to the fucking shadow realm. They will outcast you. They will, pretty much call you a right winger. And that's a lot of the problems on the left. Instead of agreeing on what other people may agree with, and working towards certain economic policies or whatever, they're just so busy focused on the fucking culture war. um and it's it's pretty disheartening, especially considering you look how far the left has moved. Kind of like one of the statements that Joe Rogan says, I never left the left left me. And you kind of see where the left was on economic populism in 2016. Things started changing around 2020, um, and then shit just kind of just fell off a cliff these past 4 to 8 years. I don't know what the hell's going on, nor do I care. The left will eat its own, and you know what? Maybe y'all should. I don't know. I really don't care. But I will agree with Myron on this. The right does allow for disagreement, debate, and in infighting.
Now, if you actually want diversified and extraordinary people, you would do something called the O1 visa. Let's talk about the O1 visa real quick. because I see a lot of people coping. Oh,
Just on a side note, I'm assuming that Myron was previously listening to Guns N' Roses. Kudos. Appetite for Destruction, definitely the best album of the 1980s. Argue with your mama about that shit. I definitely see that, he was definitely listening to Metallica, Ozzy, the Eagles. Kudos. Not a huge fan of Iron Maiden. That's just me. I mean, I know a lot of people into it. There's a few songs and riffs that I do like, but not a huge fan. But definitely Appetite for Destruction, Guns N' Roses, Metallica, Ozzy, Eagles. Yeah.
oh no, bro, the H1B visa um, allows us to import talent. No, no, we fucking no, it does not. So the O1 visa, guys, is a temporary work visa for individuals' extraordinary ability or achievement in the following fields: science, education, business, athletics, arts, motion picture, and TV industry. To qualify, an applicant must have received national or international acclaim, show evidence of extraordinary ability or achievement, and meet a very high standard. So
And this is kind of where I do think that in certain talking points that Vivek makes, he seems to kind of come off as like a grifter. I don't know. But, he definitely talks about in a recent post where he was kind of saying, we need to get rid of affirmative action. America is meritocracy. Um, I mean, I kind of understand where the affirmative action thing came from, especially as somebody who is of, ADOS descent. Um, but I also understand how it's kind of harmed other nationalities. It really never benefited, Black Americans, and it kind of just paved the way for mainly just liberal white women. Um, but to sit here and scream about meritocracy, but then you don't want individuals hired for your businesses to not meet this achievement standard, is kind of telling that he just kind of says, or he thinks that he says the right things. That's just super MAGA, super American. And I mean, you know if you're pushing the H1B visa over the O1 visa, then we really see where your meritocracy is.
if we're actually going to go ahead and bring these people in, right, that are so extraordinary, according to Elon and Vivek, and this is why they're getting the backlash, right? Because people aren't stupid. They know what their bottom line is. They want to bring in cheap labor. Make them do an O1 visa. An O1 visa, you actually have to be talented. I know someone that got an O1 visa. I'm not going to say who it is, but you guys probably know him. He's a YouTuber. But you got to fill out a packet. You got to do a lot of work. You have to have references. You actually have to be good at what you fucking do. So if we want to bring in the top scientists, top engineers, etc., which I have no problem with bringing the best and the brightest.
And that's funny. Just a side note, neither did America. Operation Paperclip, I forget her name. It's Annie. It's not coming to me right now, but she wrote a book called Operation Paperclip, and it's literally about how the deep state, NASA, pretty much allowed Nazi scientists and engineers to come over here and work in various departments. Many of these people should have been part of the Nuremberg trials, and they either were kind of grafted in after that, or they were just kind of never put on trial. And so to kind of help our deep state and federal programs, and this is how serious what Myron is saying is. I mean, you have somebody like Albert Einstein, um, definitely known for quantitate quantum mechanics, and obviously born in the German Empire. You know, moved to Switzerland for sake his German citizenship, and then of course he went to Zurich, which is the federal Polytech School in Swiss, and then moved to Berlin, did Prussian, um, because he was horrified, because he himself was a Jew, was horrified by the Nazi persecution. He moved to the United States and was granted American citizenship in 1940. And so, without him, there would have never been the Oppenheimer. There would never been, the Manhattan Project, um, and us, racing to the top for nuclear war. Um, so yeah, we do need to have the top of the line, the best of the best, but a lot of times that's not who we're picking. We're just going for cheap labor. That was just a side note.
But they got to prove they're the best and the brightest, right? Because the H1B is nothing more than people fucking coming in and scamming. Let's just be honest.
And businesses are actually getting tax credits to actually hire H1B visas over Americans, and they're so not only are they getting a tax credit, but they're also having to pay them less over Americans. And so it's just kind of like, if you really are America first, then we should be providing, you know, incentives for American companies to hire American citizens, and we should be providing other incentives, whether that's on a federal level or that's on a business level, for STEM programs, for the arts, for creativity. We this is America. We have created some of the best inventions in the world: the automobile, the plane, cell phones, the computers, the internet. The list goes on. But we have been at the forefront of almost every major development in the past 150 years. And so, we need to be focused on educating, toughening up our students, and um, making sure that there's more opportunities for Americans to be able to succeed, achieve, and be even more ambitious and driven.
It's a way for these tech companies to get cheap labor and increase their bottom line. Now, while we're on the topic of visas, let's talk about the J1 visa and F1 visa, which I honestly do think this is like a blind spot that a lot of people don't talk about. And unless you worked in immigration, you're not going to know. And I know I got some guys in here, might be CBP, might be DHS. You guys know exactly what I'm talking about when I talk about F1 visas. I think one of the most exploited visas in the United States is the F1 visa, which is a student visa. Because what ends up happening a lot of times with these guys is they come to the United States, right? They say that they're going to go to like a language school or a culinary school or some other bullshit like that. And what ends up happening is they might go to class for a semester. They might go for a day. They might not even show up. But you know what they do? They use that visa, come into the United States, go out into the fucking wind. Them niggas turn into Goku. Right? And you don't find them again. And a lot of the times, like I said before, if they're not a criminal alien or they don't get encountered again by law enforcement, they're gone in the fucking wind. Gone. And a lot of people do that, guys. A lot of these people, you guys all got to understand this too, because people always look at the border as the main problem. I'm telling you guys, it's not just the border. We got people coming in legally, and they overstay their visas. It's a huge fucking problem. Huge problem when they come in and overstay their visas. Obviously, it doesn't hit the mainstream news because DHS ain't gonna really talk about that. Yeah, we had like 20,000 overstays, right?
So if you look at DHS, so this was reported in 2022. Of course, it literally says DHS has quietly published an overdue overstay report showing that approximately 850,000 foreign visitors overstayed their authorized stay in fiscal year 2022. So you're talking about nearly a million overstays for one fucking year. So imagine decades upon decades of this going on. And we just kind of more recently started tighter restrictions on this. Of course, with the Overstay Act of 2023, but the total overstay rate for 2022 was 3.64%, which is more than double the rate of recent years. Approximately 98,000 visitors who entered under the visa waiver program, which are mainly first world countries that we accept. Um, Japan, France, Germany, Norway, stuff like that, which allows visa-free travel for a short-term visitors from low-risk countries overstayed in 2022. The country with the largest and highest rate of visa waiver program overstays was Spain, with nearly 30,000, 28,356 overstays, and a rate of 5.6%, which, in the future may trigger corrective measures. The largest number of short-term visitor overstays was from non-visa waiver program countries, came from Venezuela. About 173,000 Venezuelans overstayed during the year, which is about 94% of the visitors. This is because the Biden administration has allowed Venezuelans to enter and receive temporary protected status, a designation that includes a work permit. So I fucking hate Biden. Um, but I'm not just gonna let him take all of the blame. Of course, he should take the blame for the temporary work, um, temporary protected status, visas. But the reality is, um, to kind of give some historical context on Venezuela, this is why the reason I might go in the future kind of talk about Latin America and stuff. But to tie it in, you have to go back even further. The United States helped Batista Fidel Castro of Cuba in the 1950s. When Fidel said, "Yeah, we won the war, we used your weapons, we used your resources, but we're nationalizing these casinos, we're nationalizing the United Fruit Company's properties. We're nationalizing all these other properties that you have down here in Cuba." America was pissed off. That's when the embargo started. That's when later on the Cuban Missile Crisis started. Um, Cuba started drifting away from economic ties with America and started strengthening those ties with the Soviet Union. And so America has had um, a huge target on Cuba's back. So kind of sidestep. Venezuela, decades later was like, well, we like the socialism. We see that it's somewhat successful in other countries. So we're gonna, usher in a socialist president. We're gonna usher in socialist programs. So Venezuela is one of the largest oil producers in the world. Of course, their oil is a little bit harder to be refined than other oils around the world. And when you look at the 1970s, of course, Richard Nixon had always got us off the gold standard to put us on the petrodollar by pretty much, coming to an agreement with Saudi Arabia. It was like, hey, 50 years, make the royal family super rich. So fast forward, Obama comes onto the scene. He's working with the deep state. He's like, you know what, fuck Venezuela, fuck Hugo Chavez, fuck Maduro, fuck the socialism shit. And of course, he tried to do something similar with on the back end, some shady shit with Cuba, shady shit towards Cuba, not with Cuba, but towards Cuba. But back to Venezuela, um, he goes over to Saudi Arabia, goes over to OPEC cartel, and is like, hey, we need these cheap gas prices. We're going to purchase more oil from you, work up a deal so we can tank the Venezuelan economy. Well, anybody knows Venezuela was using the oil to pretty much help the citizens in a similar sense of like how Alaska helps the American citizens that live in Alaska. We're gonna take these profits and we're gonna give it to the people. It's your oil. Well, that caused hyperinflation. Later on, that caused riots and revolts. And then here comes Donald Trump. He's like, you know what? We're gonna send down some Blackwater guys. We're gonna send down some mercenaries. They ended up getting caught. You know, the Venezuela news is pouncing them around like, hey, we got your white guys, we got your military guys, da da da. And then they actually attempt to, control their election. The people have voted for Maduro, and they're like, no, what? We don't like this nigga, so we're gonna appoint, Juan Guaido, who is our president. So literally, Venezuela had like two presidents. One was definitely not even recognized because it was established by the deep state in America, but neither here or there. So we caused a lot of these problems with Venezuela, and of course a lot of the other Latin American countries. So that's why we have this huge influx of Venezuelans. And of course, Biden does similar stuff and gives them temporary protected status. To keep going on, the largest number of overstays by short-term visitors are citizens of Mexico, with approximately 124,000 overstays at a rate of 3.5%. For the first time, DHS broke down the overstay rates for the three subcategories of student exchange visas. Vocational vocational school students had the highest overstay rate of the three, 9.1%. Exchange visitors, um, exchange visitors overstayed a rate of 5.6%, and university and other traditional students overstayed a rate of 4.1%. Just over 9,000 citizens of China overstayed on the student or exchange visitor visas, representing more than 16% of all student exchange overstays. The largest number of overstays in the category that includes temporary workers came from Mexico, 131,000, and India, 5,800. Sorry, 5,800. Um, so yeah, we do have a lot of issues going on with this, and we definitely need to get it worked out. So it's not just people crossing the border, of course. It's definitely, people who have came here, who've entered the country legally, and then, either overstayed or did some other, foolishness to stay here.
It looks bad, right? And the F1 visa is by far one of the easiest ways to bypass the system because these shitty universities that no one wants to go to, that absolutely suck, go ahead and hand these things out like candy. Why? Because they pay. They pay. I've seen schools get taken down for running corrupt F1 visa programs. Let's talk about another loophole in the immigration system, right? Let's talk about marriage fraud. This is another crime that no one ever fucking talks about. Extremely common. Hell, it's so common you guys have seen it on the fucking show. How many times have you guys watched Fresh and Fit and we got some chick and we're like, okay, what's your status? Oh, I'm married. Okay, you're married. All right. How long have you been married? 2 years. How'd you guys meet? Friend? Okay. You guys got any kids? No. How long y'all known each other? 2 years? And it's like very static, right? And you guys have watched the show and you guys have seen this. We literally had a chick on a couple days ago. She got mad as hell. Because obviously you guys know it's a dating podcast. We ask questions about, oh yeah, you're married, tell us about how'd you guys meet, blah, blah, blah. She didn't want to answer any of those fucking questions. And where was she from? Dominican Republic. How long was she married? Roughly 2 years. I was like, interesting. And we're in Miami? Extremely fucking common. Extremely common. Where foreign nationals from South America will marry someone here. The going rate is somewhere between $10,000 to $20,000, right? And they just basically pay them, fake a marriage. They prepare for the CIS interview. They lie. They fake the wedding pictures. They fake the bank accounts, all this shit. And then applies for his green card, gets the green card, or she applies for her green card. Done. It's a big fucking business, guys.
So, as someone who has traveled a lot in the United States and outside of the United States, um, I understand the passport bro sentiment. There's some dating issues going on, especially with inside of American culture. I understand. I wholeheartedly agree. As a whole, I do think there are a few good girls left here in America, but they're fucking unicorns, right? But just to kind of give you like a FYI, um, definitely be careful. I mean, the blue passport means a lot. You do stick out like a sore thumb when you go to these other countries, whether it's Latin America, the Caribbeans, Europe. Even if you may culturally blend in or physically blend in, you still stick out. The way that we dress, our mannerisms, the way that we walk, the way that we talk. Um, you know, Prime example, I've been to Cuba a couple times. I stick out like a sore thumb, even though I might look Cuban. Beard, dead giveaway. My clothes, they're not as tight fitting, dead giveaway. I kind of walk that, because I am of, black descent here, because I consider myself as a black American, even though I am mixed with other, nationalities and races and stuff and ethnicities. But, it's a dead giveaway, especially the way that I walk. Um, so just be careful. As soon as you get there, they know that they can smell the blue passport on you. They can smell it in your hotel room. They can smell it in your pocket. Um, and the I love yous come. The I love you come. The wanting to herp and date you, have sleep with you. Herp and get married. This, that, and the third. So just be very careful. Some of the girls there, they're not who they seem. They present themselves to be. A lot of them, they're just going to use you and, fucking Speedy Gonzalez your shit. So just be careful. It's definitely issues, especially when you're talking about getting, you're almost signing your life away to the federal government. Like let's say they come here, they never apply for citizenship. They just kind of stay here on their visa, and you're obligated to pay you know, a certain amount of each month to keep them above the poverty line. So, if they're not willing to work, they're not willing to get their citizenship, they're just married to you, they run off, you can't get the paperwork filed, you can't get the divorce finalized. And I think even if the divorce is finalized, you're still kind of sponsoring them, so you're still obligated to keep them. I think the last time that I had looked was like last year. You have to keep them above the poverty line, which is around like $25,000 a year. So I mean, just be very careful. Everything that the grass isn't always greener on the other side. So just be careful of the fraud.
Immigration lawyers are often involved. There's people that do the marriages. There's people that help them do the paperwork. There's an entire process with this shit. Okay, when it comes to marriage fraud. So we talked about the H1B visas. We talked about the F1 visas. The J visas you could put as the same kind of like as F1 visas. They're exchange student visas, right? Now let's talk about overstays, right? Like visa waiver overstays. So there's a bunch of countries in the United States. Let's pull them up right here. Visa waiver countries. So there's a visa waiver program, guys, and this has a bunch of countries in it, right? You got here Andorra, Australia, Austria, Belgium, Brunei, Chile, Croatia, Czech Republic, Denmark, Estonia, Finland, France, Germany, Iceland, blah, blah, blah. Basically a bunch of first world countries, right? Economically secure first world countries, typically, right? And what the visa waiver program does is it allows you to travel to these countries without a visa, hence the term visa waiver. But what ends up happening a lot of the times, right, is these people come here, right, and they just overstay. They come in and they just don't fucking leave, right? Canadians, often. French, often. Italians, often, right? And they often come from these countries that are like socialist, leftist countries, right? And they come here for better opportunity because in their country they get taxed like 60%. Like it's damn near communism. It sucks. So what ends up happening is they come here for better opportunity. They come here and they work under the table and they make money cash or whatever it may be, right? So, people think like, oh, this immigration problem, it's just people from South America and the Caribbean. Like, no, guys. Even people from first world countries come here and overstay their visas. Why? Because we're the best country in the world. Right? As much as people say that we have our problems, sure, you can go ahead and make complaints about our insurance and, we can talk about Luigi Mangione and all this other shit. But the point is that when it comes to opportunity and the ability to build yourself up, right, and create some real wealth for yourself, no one comes close to the United States, guys. Nobody. Everybody wants to be here, to include first world countries. This isn't just like this misconception that it's like, oh yeah, it's just people from these poor countries. No! Those third world, of course they want to come here, but even people from clean, good countries want to fucking come here. So, this immigration problem is a huge problem because we're getting exploited on multiple ends. We're getting attacked on the southwest border, where we have people coming in illegally through there, right? And I'll explain how that works here in a second. I don't think I've ever explained how human smuggling works, but I got y'all. I'm going to explain it to you guys, right? Then you got people exploiting visas to come in, right? And I talked about some of the worst ones, H1Bs, F1s, J1s, B1, B2s, visitor visas. Then on top of that, you got people exploiting the visa waiver program, coming in here and overstaying. Canadians are some of the worst fucking offenders of that shit. Trudeau's sinking that country to the ground. Their immigration is fucking through the roof. And they're fucked up. And that's another reason, too, why I'm very pro-strong anti-immigration. That was a terrible way to phrase it. I'm very anti-mass immigration. There we go. I'm against mass immigration. Because I look at countries like Canada. I look at countries like France. I look at countries like Italy. I look at Australia. They're all fucked. They're all getting overrun by third world. Right? It's fucked. Absolutely terrible. Right? I understand the need for immigration to a degree. But when you just let anybody in and everyone's a refugee, your country's going to be. And the problem, right, also with the H1B thing, which I'm just going to say it, right, is that you're not just importing a foreign worker, you're importing their culture, all right? And a lot of the times come from countries that don't respect freedom of speech, don't respect democracy, don't respect liberty, right? They just don't. So
look at Kamala Harris. Grew up in Canada and definitely doesn't respect the First Amendment. Definitely doesn't respect liberty. And definitely doesn't respect democracy. I can go into a whole other video, not right now, but yeah. American born, Canadian raised, Kamala Harris.
we need to have strong borders and keep a lot of these people out. And this is coming from a guy, FYI, full transparency here. My family's from Sudan, right? So I should be super pro-immigration. But I'm not. Why? Because I know that when you bring uncivilized people that refuse to assimilate, that's another thing that you guys need to understand as well about a lot of these people. They don't want to assimilate. They don't want to speak English. They don't want to follow the laws. They want handouts, etc. Obviously, you got your good immigrants, of course. But a lot of them.
So this is where I kind of push back. I would actually say it's more likely that they do want to assimilate, more likely that they do want to respect our laws, more likely that they do want to speak English. Of course, there is a large swath that don't, but I kind of do want to push back a little bit on Migrant here. I understand what he's saying. I just don't think that out of all the immigrants, I don't think the majority are kind of refusing. I do understand that in order to really be able to be successful in this country, you do have to assimilate. You do have to speak English and stuff like that. But I don't think that that is all of them. It's a good amount that's not wanting to do that, but yeah, I'm gonna push back there.
Create problems, right? So you look at fucking Canada. Look at them. I would say if we continue to have this whole mass immigration, in 10 to 15, 20 years, we'll be like them. You don't even know it's Canada. Like a lot of times, you'll think you're a fucking or something. Speaking of which, Canada has the biggest population of Sri Lankans outside of Sri Lanka. Fun fact for you guys to know. So, you know what I mean? It's that's what it is. Oh no, my parents are U.S. citizens. Nice try though, guys. You can report them nice if you want. So I checked. I was gonna deport him myself actually. I double checked. But yeah, man. So that's the issue when you run into to mass immigration, guys. It's an ugly truth. I know people don't want to hear it. We want to be all inclusive and, you know, fucking kumbaya and woo, we want to bring everybody in. Give us your week and you're tired and you're poor. You know what I mean? Statue of Liberty, you know, I get it, bro. But nigga, it's not 1910 no more. Okay, we're built up. We're full. We're fucking full, man. We need to fix the problems at home first before we even think about immigration.
And I do want to say that I wholeheartedly agree with this last statement. We definitely have to fix our own shit first. I'm sorry, like America, yeah, we are in a lot of ways still the greatest country, not in every aspect, not in every topic, and not in every ranking, but we are slowly but surely sinking, and we got to fix our shit first. You know, can't be the beacon of the world when we have hella fucking problems.
We got so many goddamn problems. The last thing we need to do is bring in foreigners into our problems.
But that's it, guys. Hope y'all have a happy New Year's.
I was thinking
And
flying out here today.
hope y'all have a happy New Year's. Stay up, stay safe. Peace.